Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Dole, president of Solution Driven Wealth. And today we want to talk about some of the proposed estate tax law changes proposed by the Biden administration. Our main concern for you is the health and well-being of you and your family. As we come out of this 12 to 16-month period, a brutal period in our country's history, we hopefully are having a good time reconnecting with family and loved ones. We at Solution Driven Wealth are always here for you. We very much appreciate and enjoy the relationships that we've established with you over these many years, and we're always here to answer your questions, whatever they may be. As a reminder, we've moved to a new location. Conveniently located right off of Route 280 on 425 Eagle Rock Ave, Suite 104 in Roseland, New Jersey. What we want to talk about in this session here is some of the big changes that are being proposed by the Biden administration under the current tax law, estate tax law. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which is really the Trump era tax law relating to estates and generation skipping tax. These tax law changes went into effect really in 2019. So we're looking at legislation that went into effect that doubled the exclusion. So right now, if I have an estate, I'm able to shelter $11.7 million per person, or $23.4 million collectively between my wife and I from federal estate tax, a very large sum. Okay. Now that provision had, or that law had a sunset provision so that it would die or essentially have to be revoted on in 2026. If it was not voted on, then the law would go all the way back to $5 million per person, adjusted for inflation in 2011 dollars. Now, given the success of the Democrats in the past election, we're seeing a big change to some of these figures. The rate's coming down to about $3.5 million proposed per person, or $7 million. So that's a big change from 23.4 to $7 million, a huge change. And then other changes that we talked about in a prior session, talking about changes in capital gains and a step up in basis, will have a multiple effect on estates. What we're saying to clients is that, and while this is not settled law yet, there's a general commonality around these provisions, is that you will have an opportunity this year, most likely, to pass on your $11.7 million of gifting. So you could do that while you're alive and take advantage of that. There's the potential to either use that or lose that. So you may want to consider using that under this current administration for the 2021 year. We'll be talking to you about that in the coming weeks and months as we begin to plan for this legislation. So what does this mean to your rate structure? Well, let's just say I'm a single individual. And again, we said that there's a general consensus that the threshold will be about $3.5 million per person. That means if I have an estate that's worth $5 million, I'll pay 45% on that $1.5 million above the 3.5. That's a big number. And in northern New Jersey, it's not impossible to come up with assets that, with stocks and bonds, real estate, that are worth $5 million. Not a hard stretch at all. So we could see for some of our other clients that have assets above $10 million, the tax will go up to 50%, a big, big number. So what are the 5 top action items we want to discuss with you over the coming weeks? First, we need to talk about some of your goals and objectives and how they're impacted by the proposed income tax increases, including capital gains and removal of step up in basis at death. We're also going to project your estate tax bill at the end. We might want to consider making gifts during our lifetime now while we have the current legislation in effect. After 2022, those opportunities to gift assets out of our estate will be gone. We also want to discuss an estate or a capital gains harvesting plan. Again, so we don't get caught paying a lot, our heirs paying a lot of capital gains. We might want to realize some of those capital gains up to certain thresholds this year, so we're not impacted down the road. We also want to analyze the merits and the benefits of a potential Roth conversion. The other thing that I think that's happened in these past number of years is that we have not discussed as much life insurance as a planning tool or technique. And what do I mean by that? Life insurance, if held in a trust, was typically used to pay estate taxes in prior years. When we get up to $11.7 million per person or $23.4 million for a couple, some of those clients didn't view as needing to have life insurance. However, as we've seen, a new administration, new ideas about how to tax the public have come into vogue. And that means that other planning techniques that we kind of tabled for a period of time are now back into popularity. So we may want to discuss with you the merits of using life insurance as a planning technique in your estate. This means that life insurance could be used to pay estate taxes and or capital gains taxes by your heirs. None of this is settled law. Any advisor that tells you that they know exactly what's going to happen with this law or legislation would be misinforming you. However, we do feel that there's some broad consensus about some general principles about estate taxes being reduced, and obviously that's going to impact many of our clients. Over the coming weeks and months, we're going to be discussing with you planning techniques that you can enact on your portfolios and estate plan to protect it and leave a legacy to your loved ones and or charity. We appreciate the opportunity to keep you informed about not just legislation, but about your portfolio and how we can improve it. We really are concerned about your health and well-being, and we always thank you for the opportunity to work with you and your friends and family. Thank you so much and have a great start to the summer.